Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Em, and today we are going to be doing my September TBR. We currently have 10 days left of August, and I have done an abysmal job of reading my TBR for this month. So fingers crossed I can get some stuff done in the next week, because otherwise we're going to be rolling over a lot of books, which I don't really want to do, but it may have to be what happens. We'll see. We'll also see how the Ketchup and Pickles vlog goes and how much I'm able to get read in that period of time. That all being said, I'm going to try to keep this month's TBR a little bit more reasonable. I'm not going to talk about the books I'm rolling over because who knows what will actually have to be rolled over. So for now, we're just going to talk about one of my obligation reads, one book that I purchased in August that I would really like to read in September, and then we'll do the TBR jar and then we'll be done. So short and sweet little video today. So we'll start off by talking about my obligation read. This is for the Betty Pages Challenge Your Shelf Bookshelf Challenge. This Betty Pages is an indie bookstore in Illinois, and they have this really great reading challenge on Storygraph that you can participate in. And so the book that I picked for this month is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of interest in reading, but out of all the options I had for September, it's the one I'm most interested in reading, if that makes sense. So I know this is YA mystery series, or book one in a YA mystery series. An adaptation just came out. I've heard there's a really great multimedia component to this book with a podcast element, and I do love a book with a podcast element. I read The Weight of Blood earlier in the summer, and that has a podcast element that I really loved, so I have high hopes. I think I'm going to try it on audio because I've heard good things about it on audio. Hopefully I'll have a good time. And then the book that I bought in August that I really want to read in September is Magical Realism, Essays on Music, Memory, Fantasy, and Borders. My husband very sweetly bought this for me when we were on a Barnes & Noble visit. And this is nonfiction, and I love nonfiction about pop culture, especially if it's from an author's very specific lens and how pop culture affected their life or has influenced their life. And so I've heard really good things about this book, and I'm really excited to get into it. And in a total twist of how I usually do things, I think I'm just going to read this with my eyeballs and not also try to get the audiobook. I think a nice, slow, contemplative type read would be really nice. I'm also hoping this is a book that lends itself towards being annotated, because that would also be a fun time. Let's get into the TBR jar. I don't even know what I want to read out of here, I'll be honest. I think we might be getting into the time of year where having a TBR just is not for me, which I go through those phases. Sometimes I really love a TBR, really love knowing what I'm reading next, but there are other times where I just need a mood read, and I think we're getting into that time. Okay. Book number one is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. Very cool, like it. This book definitely qualifies as a TBR veteran. I've had this on my shelf for years. Years and years and years. And this is YA. I believe it's fantasy and follows a bunch of characters who are descendants of literary characters from Gothic literature. So we have, I think, the daughter of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We have Victor Frankenstein's daughter. Is there a Sherlock Holmes type person in here? Oh, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are characters. Okay. But in this first book, we're following Mary Jekyll, and she is trying to find out about how her father, Dr. Jekyll, passed away, or died, or was murdered, or whatever. Anyways, I've heard really good things. I'm hoping I really like it. Ooh, that's cool. It was a Nebula finalist. And it's from Saga. I didn't know Saga did YA. Okay, that'll be cool. Hopefully I really like it, because it's been on my shelf for so long that it's going to be real embarrassing if I don't like it. Book number 2, ooh, it's a small one, is Starter Villain. Oh, that's fun. I have been waiting for an excuse to read this book ever since we got it, and I don't know what has stopped me from picking it up, but I just felt like I needed, I don't know, it's like I needed a reason. Other than that, I just wanted to read it. I read Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that was such a fun concept. I really like John Scalzi's sense of humor, and I've heard really good things about Starter Villain, and I just think, I mean, it's hard to beat the cover of this book. It's just such an attention grabber. And this is about a man who's like a divorced substitute teacher, and he's really just struggling through life. And then his uncle dies and leaves him his supervillain business. And I love this kind of story of like somebody who's thrust into a situation that they are wholly unprepared for and just trying to figure it out as they go along. I think it'll be a really fun time. And then book number 3, I have a purple and a red. Should I try for a yellow or a white? White is kind of a more recent book, so let's try for a white and see what we get. Or like a more recently added to my collection. Shark Heart. Oh, it's time. I have been mentally putting Shark Heart on my monthly TBRs since last year. Like so long. And I'm really excited that it finally came up. Also, this came off of the shelf where arcs go to die, which is basically just where I shove the arcs that I have and then I totally forget that they're there because they're separate from the rest of the bookshelf. And that pile is getting very small, so that's exciting. But this is about a married couple who find out that the husband has been diagnosed with this disease that exists in this alternate reality where he's going to slowly turn into a great white shark. This is literary fiction, so you know, outside of my comfort zone, but it's got really interesting writing structure, and some of the chapters are only like half a page long, so I think it'll be a fast read. I've seen people sob over this book, and I am typically allergic to books that are going to make me cry, but we'll see. We'll see if this makes me feel things. But I'm so excited to finally read this for myself and experience what I've watched a lot of other people experience. All right, so there we have it, my modest little TBR for September. The kids go back to school in 3 days. Actually, the day you'll see this will be like their 3rd day of school. So we'll hope it's a smooth transition, and who knows what my reading will look like in this month as I transition to them being in school and us having more activities. My work schedule is also going to shift around a little bit. So I think a small TBR is good because we all know I'm going to mood read the crap out of the rest of the month. And probably the fewer books that I feel obligated to read, the better. But anyways, with that, we're going to end this video. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending your precious time with me. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, of course, let's do a shark emoji. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.